This artwork is the very first installation that I did for the Maxi Museum in Rome, and it is a 3D mapping of the Monaco Mall, which is a very, very large ice mass in Spitsbergen, Norway, that is very, very frequently visited, and that's become a very, very strong symbol of global warming, because the water masses released are they almost look like a gigantic waterfall at certain periods of the year. The very interesting part was the shape of the Maxi Museum in Rome, which an amazing architect that we actually met, Sarah Hadid. Many artists shy away from the space because it's rather complicated and really also an architectural site, but the site was very, very long and very flat, with certain levels a little higher, and it adapted actually perfect for our installation. So the challenge was basically, with the material we had, to create this rhythm and to find the exact spacing of the installation along the whole facade of the museum. Now there is amazing material available from all over the world, because a lot of the ice masses, when they deteriorate, are not being recorded. A lot of it is from Antarctica, some of it is from the North Pole area, but the glaciers are really screaming, and this kind of noises, in combination with the crashing water, in combination with these very striking visuals, maybe that was the biggest challenge. Also, the challenge was the transition from the solid ice wall to the strong water exiting. And that transition, from a noise point of view and also from a point of accuracy, was very challenging. Yes, absolutely. I find art, architecture, and the combination thereof extremely important, especially the way we visit museums and the way we look at art. So when we produce an artwork, we create a reaction, and when this was basically the opening of our exhibition, so from a very far distance, when people exited their cars, they walked towards the museum. This enormous installation was greeting them, and automatically their pace slowed down, and there was suddenly people standing in awe in front of this installation. The combination of the architecture and the work I find extremely interesting. I wish a lot of the works of traditional artists would be shown in different contexts, because when we go in the permanent exhibitions in certain museums, people walk in and walk out, and we've seen it before. But when you actually visit an exhibition that we just saw, it was Gerhard Richter and Segantini, you really found the profound relationship with nature, space, because that was in the Segantini Museum, and this contextual adaptation by the contemporary art and the art that we find also in the private collection of the Kunsthaus Zurich and in other museums suddenly got a totally new life. And that shows the success of great curation. Another of the very greatest examples of a very well-known piece of Impressionist paintings, actually almost beginning of Impressionism, was the installation of Monet's Water Lilies. Now, we know the orangerie, we know the work, the way it's been shown in Paris, but when we visit Naoshima, there is this journey to this island, and you get out of the boat, you see this enormous structure by Tadao Ando. When you enter the museum and you enter the space, you take your shoes off, so automatically you create this sensation of silence and respect. And on the ground were these tiny squares, and you really feel the ground, and in front of you you have this, on both sides and in front you have this immense installation of Monet's Water Lilies that gave the work a totally different meaning with the architecture of Tadao Ando and the amazing work of Monet that he basically painted over half a lifetime. And this kind of display of a very known artwork in a context of one of the greatest living architects, Tadao Ando, gave a whole different meaning to the artwork, and that is really, really the way I feel the Museum of the Future should be going. I wish more people could have seen this installation because it was not for a long time, and the way of showing work with an artwork that I'm actually sitting in front of a variation of this work. When it becomes alive, and this is the great luxury we have today, opposed to the 19th century, we have this possibility to animate the artworks and to really communicate with the audience, which is a very, very interesting way of creating art and actually having people enter a different realm, and you see it in a very new way that's amazing for children in Team Lab, the Japanese team of Team Labo that creates these immersive environments that basically you children can draw or adults can draw, and these works become alive and become an immersive experience. And I feel this is a great attribute to experimentation of future technology of creating art, not just limiting ourselves to pure painting and architecture and the game of visiting artworks. Well, I think the people that visit my artworks in the museums or in galleries, there is always very strange silence. I really never heard in any of my exhibitions, much talking. When people come in, there is almost a eerie silence, and this is very interesting because the works are, in real life, they're really overwhelming works. Some of them, they're big, they're loud, the noises that has been created are very, very prominent. But the moment people visit the artworks, there is this silence surrounding the works that I always find extremely interesting. It's a terrible thing to say, but it's become a growing trend to show climate change and display it. On one end, it's extremely important that finally people are waking up to it. On the other hand, it creates certain dangers. I talk about the Monaco Mall and Antarctica. In the meantime, we have big cruise ships that are visiting these sites. And it's a very different thing to use a sailboat or an exploring boat to visit sites of climate change. Today, I hear Galapagos, which used to be a very hidden site where very few people went, and highly protected and a monumental natural reserve, and today it's visited by many, many cruise ships. Same with Antarctica, same with Spitsbergen and many other sites. So there is this danger that nature should be left undisturbed in many places, and it's in a way a wonderful thing that we have places like Val-Rosec in Switzerland or the Aletsch Glacier, which have long walking paths where people need to park their cars far away and walk 2 to 3 hours to actually experience the effect of climate change. I'm much more for this kind of experience, because even when we go today to Mount Everest, that one of the big peaks of the world, one of the major problems is the environmental impact and the garbage that is being created by these enormous groups of people that are going to these places, often untrained, and many, many tragically lose their lives, which is totally unnecessary. There are many ways of visiting these amazing sites by guided walking tours or bicycle tours, or even better by horse. You can visit Iceland, basically all of Iceland, on the back of the Iceland pony. You can trek in the Himalayas with yak. You can ride on the yak, or you can walk next to the yak. They're great support animals. So there are so many ways in discovering nature where we don't shy, we don't scare the animals, we don't destroy nature, and we show the respect that nature and botanic and animal life deserves.